Let's switch our attention now to education. This afternoon, the National Professional Teachers Organisation of South Africa is in essence supporting the Basic Education Department's proposal to reopen schools. It's an attempt to recover what is left of the academic year while having pupils observing social distancing in classrooms. Here's the question, though. Can this really be done effectively? Naptosa President via Skype Basil Manuel, good afternoon to you and welcome. The Basic Education Department's proposal is to reopen schools on what it terms is a staggered basis, meaning that pupils only go back 2 grades at a time. Is this feasible?
Jeremy, certainly we believe it's feasible. We believe that we can't simply abandon the school year. Something must be done to salvage it, but also within the reason that depending on what the health ministry says and depending on how the COVID-19 develops, that will inform how we do it, etc. Now, Naptosa has embraced the whole idea of a staggered return, but not completely, because we are still in the phase of debating with the ministry, debating with the Department of Education about the good sense it makes to have the big gaps, and secondly, of course, whether the right grades are returning at the right time. We would, for example, want to see grade 1s come back much earlier than in July, because the grade 1s, by their very nature, would have lost more than any other grade for that matter.
The staggered return, then, if that doesn't work, do you have a better idea? Well, look, we've bought into the idea of the staggered return simply because we know that there must be a certain amount of testing that will happen, and that we need to see that schools are ready to absorb the learners again in terms of the cleanliness and deep cleaning and the like. So we are supporting a staggered return. We are just saying which classes come back when is what we need to talk about, and whether we need a 3-week delay from one group to the next. That we must be convinced about completely. But of course, these are discussion documents. So we are involved in the discussion, and we hope that we would be able to influence the outcomes. Mr. Manuel, let me suggest to you that, and no one is saying that it's not important to go back to school, but it would be nigh impossible, surely, to enforce any form of social distancing, either on the campus or on the playground.
You've hit the nail on the head. That is our major concern, and our teachers, our members, are the ones that are raising this constantly with us. And we want to get far more detail about how we are going to do this, because given how the overpopulation of our schools at the moment, given that there are very few classes that have less than 40-odd children in, to try and get a meter or 1.5 meters between them is nigh impossible. We recognize that. But so what are the solutions? Now remember, ours is not only to assist with the solution, but also to hear how the department intends implementing this. And we've put it on the table that we've heard about social distancing. Tell us how you're going to do that. How is it going to happen? You can't just split classes. You don't have the teachers for that. Neither do you have the space. So we too are part of that debate and part of trying to figure out how we are going to do this.
Aside from the social distancing, you would also need to check and test pupils, which would mean more people coming onto the school grounds. I'd put to you that that would further bedevil the process. Plus, there is doubt as to whether there are enough healthcare professionals to actually do that.
Well, look, I've got to put it to you that if you're staggering the return, and so you are testing the first group of pupils or scanning the first group, it becomes easier and easier, and that is one of the reasons for staggering. And so you would have all these healthcare workers. But I agree with you. At the moment, we don't see that there are enough healthcare workers around. And remember that this has to happen every day, because you can't scan people one day and forget to do it the next day, because the very learners go back into the community, they go back into families, and they come back with whatever they've encountered there. So it's a daily occurrence, and of course it means that you've got to adjust your time of day, you've got to adjust how much work you cover and the like. It's fraught with problems, but
we can't not plan. That is the bottom line. We've got to plan in the hope that certain things will be able to happen, not ignoring, of course, the obvious problems that are there, and not ignoring the problems that could occur, even those that we don't see.
No one is going to disagree with you that the planning is absolutely critical and that at some point we have got to get pupils back to school. But worst case scenario, Basil Manuel, is that we write off this academic year or a large swathe of it. If that happens, what's the impact? What's the consequence?
I'd like to believe that the academic year, but not learning, can be written off. It would be, look, Jeremy, a simple example of you've tested learners and 2 of them actually test positive. And then the whole group may be infected or possibly have to go into lockdown and quarantine because they've been in contact with a number of learners. That disrupts the whole program all over again. So I'm agreeing that there are innumerable things that could go wrong. Cancelling the academic year, I think we are too far from the end of the year to do that. We've still got 7 months to go. And who knows how this pans out in the beginning. But that we have to plan for some different scenarios is a given, and hence I'm very much in line with what the department is doing. I think they're doing the right thing. I think planning is essential, and all the unions are included and a whole lot of other role players. So that says that there's a lot of heads being put together, but we are not discounting all the things that can go wrong and that possibly will go wrong.
As everyone says, we are really in uncharted territory at the moment, but critical at some point that we get our students, our pupils, back to school. Basil Manuel, thanks for the views from the National Professional Teachers Organisation of South Africa.